So, blessed are the undefiled in the way. And so the Lord is going to bless those people who are undefiled, be it physical or be it spiritual. The Lord is going to bless those that are undefiled. And so this is a type topic that we don't normally deal with. You know, we read scriptures like this that have the word defile or undefiled in it, and we just pass right over it. And so we're going to show you that you can be defiled physically, and not only can you be defiled physically, but you can be defiled spiritually. You know, we had a conversation one day last week. I think that was last Sabbath, and I appreciate brother. His name is Brother Bert Armstrong. He came through and sat with us, and you know, we were going back and forth with some questions. I said I'm going to go ahead and do a lesson dealing with defiled and undefiled, because defiled and unclean are the same thing. It's the same thing. And so we're going to look at that today. We're going to also look at what a virgin is, because, you know, we also talked about that too, about the 144,000 that were virgins that had not been defiled by women. And the question was brought up, well, how can men be defiled by a woman? So we're going to answer that question as well today. So let's start this off, though. Let's start this off in Psalms 119. Psalm 119. And we're going to pick it up at verse 1. Psalms 119 and 1. Like I said, you know, this is a topic that we rarely deal with in Israel. Psalms 119 and 1. Go ahead and read that.
Psalms 119, verse 1. Blessed are the undefiled in the way, who walk in the law of the Lord.
See, he said, blessed are the undefiled in the way, who walk in the law of the Lord. He said, you blessed if you walk in the law of the Lord. Because, you know, you hear people, I'm blessed and highly favored. And he said, well, do you keep the law of God? I don't have to keep the law of God. Well, he's saying right here, blessed are the undefiled in the way, who walk in the law of the Lord. How does a person become defiled? And how do they become undefiled? So we got to find this out. Skip down to verse 9. Skip to verse 9. Go ahead.
Verse 9. Wherewithal shall a young man cleanse his way?
Now he said, wherewithal shall a young man cleanse his way? In other words, his going forth. How should his going forth be cleansed? And see, he has to do it. Close that door, young man. He has to do it. He said, wherewithal shall a young man cleanse his way?
By taking heed thereto according to thy word.
See, that's how he's going to clean his ways. By taking heed to the Lord's word. That's how he's going to cleanse his ways. Keep reading.
With my whole heart have I sought thee. Oh, let me not wander from thy commandments.
Go ahead.
Thy word have I hid in my heart.
You see where he hid his word? This word is hidden right here. In his heart, in his mind. Read that one more time.
Verse 11. Thy word have I hid in mine heart. That I might not sin against thee.
That I might not do what?
That I might not sin against thee.
That I might not sin against thee. So you have to hold the word of the Lord in your heart, in your mind, that you don't sin against the Lord. Because you don't have his word in your heart or in your mind, you will sin against the Lord. I'm talking about willful sin. And that's why we always stress thinking. That's why we always stress keeping God's commandments. You understand? That's why the children of Israel got in trouble in the first place. That's why we hit the shores of America in 1619. Because of our people, our forefathers wouldn't keep the commandments of God. That's why the world is cursed now. Because they have transgressed the laws, broken the everlasting covenant. What is the everlasting covenant? It is the 10 Commandments. Let's go now. Let's go to Matthew the 5th chapter. We're just going to see those that are blessed real quick. Matthew 5. And we're going to pick it up at verse 2. Matthew 5 and 2. Because some people's definition of blessed are contrary to what God say is blessed, or what the Lord say is blessed, or who are blessed. So let's see who the Lord say is blessed. Matthew 5. Matthew 5. We're going to pick up at verse 2. Yeah. Matthew 5 and 2. Go ahead and read.
Matthew 5, verse 2.
Uh-huh.
And he opened his mouth and taught them, saying.
Skip to verse 5 now. So we're not going to read all this. Skip to verse 5. Go ahead and read.
Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth.
Blessed are the meek, the lowly at heart. They're the ones that's going to inherit the earth. Go ahead and read.
Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled.
Go ahead.
Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God.
Oh, wait a minute. That's what we're looking for right there. He said, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. What does he mean by pure in heart? Pure in the mind. Now, there's a lot of things that we can go over showing you how to become pure in the mind. A lot of things, but we can't read everything to you today. So we're just going to read some of the things to you. All right? So he said, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Go ahead and read. Oh, we're going to stop right there. Yeah, we're going to stop right there. Okay, let's go now. Let's go to 2 Samuel. 2 Samuel, and we're going to pick up at verse 22. 2 Samuel 22, and we're going to pick it up at verse 18. 2 Samuel 22 and 18. Let me slow down. Second Samuel 22 and verse 18. Now, David is going to really break it down here for you for why the Lord had mercy on him. He's going to break it down for you. 2 Samuel 22, and we're going to pick it up at verse 18. And he's going to tell you why the Lord rewarded him according to his righteousness. Go ahead and read.
2 Samuel 22, verse 18. He delivered me from my strong enemy, and from them that hated me, for they were too strong for me.
Okay, we had 2 Samuel 22 and 18. Yeah, that's right. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I don't know what's wrong with me today. Go ahead.
Verse 18.
Yeah, read it again.
He delivered me from my strong enemy, and from them that hated me, for they were too strong for me. They prevented me in the day of my calamity, but the Lord was my stay.
So he said, the Lord was my stay. In other words, the Lord delivered me. Go ahead and read.
He brought me forth also into a large place. He delivered me, because he delighted in me.
Go ahead.
The Lord rewarded me according to my righteousness.
The Lord did what?
The Lord rewarded me according to my righteousness.
The Lord rewarded me according to my righteousness. You see, you have to walk righteous before the Lord. You know, you want the Lord to bless you, you got to walk righteous before him. He said, the Lord rewarded me according to my righteousness.
According to the cleanness of my hands, hath he recompensed me.
According to the cleanness of my hand. David, in other words, I wasn't going around sinning. He rewarded me according to my righteousness, according to the cleanness of my hands, have he recompensed me. This is how he rewarded me, or why he rewarded me. Because I walked righteous before the Lord, and I didn't sin before him. Go ahead and read. Now, you know, you better take note to what David is saying right here. Go ahead and read.
Verse 22. For I have kept the ways of the Lord, and have not wickedly departed from my God.
Now, how many of us can say this? How many of us can say this? He said, for I have kept the ways of the Lord, and have not walked wickedly, and have not wickedly departed from my God. How many of us can say this? Because if you can't, you better start growing up to this. You better make this your path that you walk right here, that you don't walk wickedly before God, because God is going to reward you according to your works. And if you walk wickedly before God, then you're going to get a wicked man's reward. And if you walk righteous before God, you're going to get a righteous man's reward. Go ahead and read.
Verse 23. For all his judgments were before me. And as for his statutes,
go ahead.
I did not depart from them.
See, as for his statutes, his laws, I did not depart from them. Go ahead and read.
I was also upright before him.
And have blessed are the undefiled in the way who walk in the law of the Lord. And David is telling you why he was blessed. Read verse 23 again.
Verse 23. For all his judgments were before me. And as for his statutes, I did not depart from them.
Go ahead.
I was also upright before him. And have kept myself from mine iniquity.
Go ahead. Now you see, wait a minute now, I want everybody to understand this right here. So he said, I have kept myself from mine iniquity. See, nobody else is going to do this for you. I don't care if your mother is a saint, your father, he a preacher, it don't matter. You have to keep yourself from your iniquities. You have to do it. Nobody else can do this for you, because every man is going to stand in judgment for his own works that he has done. Go ahead and read.
Verse 25. Therefore the Lord hath recompensed me according to my righteousness, according to my cleanness in his eyesight. With the merciful thought thou wilt show thyself merciful.
With the merciful thou shalt show thyself merciful.
And with the upright man, thou wilt show thyself upright.
And with the upright man, he will show himself upright. In other words, if you walk right before God, he's going to show you his uprightness. If you have some mercy towards people, God's going to show you some mercy. Go ahead and read.
With the pure, thou wilt show thyself pure.
With the pure, thou shalt show thyself pure.
And with the forward, thou shalt show thyself unsavory.
Unsavory. Say with the wicked, thou wilt show thyself unsavory. In other words, the Lord will punish you for your wickedness. Is everybody understanding this?
Amen.
Blessed are the undefiled in the way who walk in the law of the Lord. Let's go now. Because David told you and showed you why the Lord was merciful to him and was upright with him and blessed him. And that's because he walked righteous before the Lord. Let's go to Titus, the first chapter. Titus 1. And you got to walk righteous before God. You can't just talk about walking righteous before God. You got to do it. Because God is watching everyone. He is watching us all. That's how he knows who to punish and who not to punish. Titus 1, and we're going to pick it up in verse 15. Titus 1 and verse 15. Go ahead and read.
Titus 1 verse 15. Unto the pure, all things are pure.
Unto the pure, all things are pure. You know those people that you see all the time? They always looking for the good in somebody, and they always trying to do good. Those are the pure. They're walking right before God. You understand? They walk right before the Lord. Those are the pure. Unto the pure, all things are pure.
But unto them that are defiled and unbelieving,
go ahead,
is nothing pure.
Okay, you see what he's saying to those that are defiled. Now we're going to show you the one, because you can be physically defiled and you can be mentally defiled too. Your mind, because this is where it started at first. Whether you see the fight is right here, whether you're going to do good or whether you're going to do evil. This is where the fight is. He said, unto the pure, all things are pure, but unto them that are defiled and unbelieving, nothing is pure. People walk in wickedness and walk walk contrary to the law every day, all day. Those are the ones that are defiled, and those are the ones that's unbelieving. But if they understood what God was going to do to them, they wouldn't walk that way. And that's because the preachers have given men carte blanche to sin and not to fear God. Wherever you see fear, just put love there. God loves everybody. My question to them, if he loves everybody, then why is he going to put people in the lake of fire? Go ahead and read. What verse you at?
Verse 15 at the end.
Uh-huh.
But even their mind and conscience is defiled.
Uh-huh. You see that? Their mind and their conscience is defiled. See, your mind can be pure or it can be defiled. So it's not just a physical thing when it comes to being defiled. Your mind can be defiled. Your mind can be defiled. Not just your body be defiled or unclean. Your mind can be defiled or unclean. The thoughts that you think, they can be defiled or unclean. Go ahead and read.
Verse 16.
Uh-huh.
They profess that they know God.
Uh-oh. Now, wait a minute. Now, we're not just talking about the willful sinners here. Who is Paul telling Titus about? He said they profess that they know God. These people right here saying that they know God. They profess that they know God. Uh-huh.
But in works, they deny him.
But in works, they deny him, telling you that God loves everybody. You can do what you want to do. You can serve God your way, and I can serve God my way. No, you got to serve God his way. I ain't going to get on the Sunday people today. I'm just going to keep it neutral. He said they confess that they know God, but in works they deny him. Uh-huh.
Being abominable.
How does a person become abominable? You can be abominable mentally, or you can be abominable physically. Go and eat some catfish, and the Lord look at you as abominable. He talked about that in Isaiah the 65th chapter. He said the abominable things are in their vessels. Go ahead and read.
And disobedient.
Yeah, you know that's people do. I don't even have to comment on that. He said they profess that they know God, but in works they deny him, being abominable and disobedient. Uh-huh.
And unto every good work reprobate.
And to every good work reprobate. They're not trying to do nothing God say, but they say they know God. And everything you show them in the Bible concerning what God tell you to do, they do opposite. They say and do opposite. Even if Jesus tell you, I'm the Lord of the Sabbath, they said, we don't have to keep no Sabbath. Well, then they call on Jesus. How you going to call on Jesus and then he say he's the Lord of the Sabbath, but you don't have to keep his Sabbath? How does that make sense? Let's go now. Let's go to Proverbs, the 21st chapter. Proverbs 21. Proverbs 21, and we're going to pick it up at verse 8. We're going to read one verse. Proverbs 21 and 8. Proverbs 21 and 8. Go ahead and read it.
Proverbs 21, verse 8. The way of man is froward, strange.
See, the way of man is froward, it is wicked, and it is strange. Go ahead and read.
But as for the pure, his work is right.
Oh, you see what he said about the pure? His work is right. walking righteously before God. And the only way you're going to find out how to work righteous, or walk righteously before God is through his word. Amen. That's the only way you're going to find out. And don't give me that thing about, well, we New Testament Christians. No, Paul told you, and I think that's 2 Timothy, the 3rd chapter, that the scriptures are for instruction in righteousness. The scriptures are. So the way that you understand righteousness is through the Old Testament, through the scriptures. That's how you understand righteousness. Read that verse one more time.
Verse 8.
Uh-huh.
The way of man is froward and strange.
Go ahead.
But as for the pure, his work is right.
As for the pure, his work is right. His work is right. Not just before men, but before God. That's what you want to make sure is right before God. Because see, men will tell you anything and you think you're walking right. But you got to walk right according to what God says is right. Not according to what men say. Let's go to 1 Corinthians, the 3rd chapter. 1 Corinthians 3. And we're going to pick it up at verse 16. 1 Corinthians 3 and 16. 1 Corinthians 3 and 16. Because you understand, if you got that Spirit of God in you, you got to remember this right here. 1 Corinthians 3 and 16. And when I say you got the Spirit of God in you, I'm saying the Word of God. When you got that Spirit in you. 1 Corinthians 3 and 16. Go ahead and read it.
1 Corinthians 3, verse 16. Know ye not that ye are the temple of God?
You are the temple of God. Go ahead and read.
And that the Spirit of God dwelleth in you.
His word. That is that Spirit that dwelleth in you. It is his word that is dwelling in you. You are the temple of God, and his Spirit is dwelling in you.
If any man defile the temple of God,
if any man defile this temple, what's going to happen?
Him shall God destroy.
Him shall God destroy. So you better find out then, how does one defile this temple? Because he's saying, look at man, the Spirit of God dwelling in you. If you defile this temple, then God is going to destroy you. So it is incumbent upon us to find out, how do we defile this temple so we don't get destroyed by God? Isn't that right?
Amen.
Read that one more time. Verse 17.
If any man defile the temple of God, him shall God destroy.
Go ahead.
For the temple of God is holy. Which temple ye are.
See, we're supposed to be holy. We're supposed to be walking in holiness. And the Bible tells us what's holy. Not no preacher, not me. I'm just going to read to you what's holy. And people have all sorts of ideas about what's holy and what's not holy. But we're going to look at the book, and the book is going to tell us what's holy. Verse 23. Skip to verse 23. Go ahead and read it.
And ye are Christ, and Christ is God.
You are Christ, and Christ is God's. So now you belong to Christ. So there's a certain way that you have to walk. You can't defile this temple, your body or your mind. Does everybody understand? Amen. You can't be walking around defiled saying you are a servant of God and you understand you got his word and all this stuff, but then you walking around defiled. Mentally and physically. Walking around eating everything. God told you don't eat it. You want everything that come across your mind, you thinking it. And some people acting on it. Let's go now. Let's go to 1 Corinthians, the 5th chapter. Let's see how your mind, some of the things that your mind are defiled by. 1 Corinthians 5, and we're going to pick it up at verse 1. 1 Corinthians 5 and 1. Go ahead and read it.
1 Corinthians 5, verse 1. It is reported commonly that there is fornication among you.
Now, don't that defile you? But look, they were really wicked with them being, but look how wicked they were. It is reported commonly that there is fornication among you,
and such fornication as is not so, much as named among the Gentiles, that one should have his father's wife.
See, that's really wicked right there. That one should have his father's wife. That's really because the law says a man should not have his father's wife. Go ahead and read.
Verse 2. And ye are puffed up, and have not rather mourned. But he that hath done this deed might be taken away from among you.
Skip to verse 6. He said, the man that's doing it, he really wicked. He really defiled. He must be taken from among, he must be taken from among you. Skip to verse 6. Go ahead.
Verse 6. Your glorying is not good.
See, they glorying in this. You know how brothers brag, yeah, man. I had a brother like that. I knew myself personally, sleeping with his father's wife. And was bragging about it. We thought it was cool. We was young. We thought it was cool. Oh, man. But we understand that, dude, you defiled. You sleeping with your father's wife, you defiled. We didn't understand that when we were young. But now I understand that. Man sleeping with his father's wife, you are defiled. And then they sitting around glorying about it. He said, your glorying is not good.
Know ye not that a little leaven leaveneth the whole.
What is this leavening representing? It is representing sin. He said, look, man, your glory is not good. Know ye not that a little leaven leaveneth the whole lump? You going around doing this, man. Other brothers see you doing this, they might start doing it. This leavening right here, leavening a whole lump. Go ahead and read.
Verse 7. Purge out therefore the old leaven, that ye may be a new lump.
Go ahead.
As ye are unleavened.
See, you're supposed to be unleavened, man. You're supposed to be pure. You're supposed to be undefiled. In other words, without sin. Go ahead and read.
For even Christ, our Passover, is sacrificed for us.
Now, I brought you here for a reason. So he said, even Christ, our Passover, is sacrificed for us. Now, I'm going to show you something right here about being defiled and unclean, because the question was raised about is a person, if he is defiled, is he unclean? Or is he clean? If he's unclean, is he defiled? And I try to tell the brother, that's the same thing. Undefiled and defiled and unclean is the same thing. Now let me show you, because I brought you here to show you about the Passover for a reason. Let's go now. Let's go to Numbers, the 9th chapter. Numbers 9. Defiled and unclean are the same thing. Look at what the book is saying right here. Numbers 9 and 6. Numbers 9 and 6. And we had a very interesting conversation. I said, well, you know what? I told us, man, I'm going to have to do a lesson on this. He's like, go and do it then. We had Numbers 9 and 6. Numbers 9 and 6. We go back and forth, but I must admit I love that brother. Numbers 9 and 6. Numbers 9 and 6. Go ahead and read.
Numbers 9, verse 6. And there were certain men who were defiled by the dead body of man.
And there were certain men who were defiled by the dead body of a man. Now look, they defiled. Now, the Lord said they defiled. Not me. Not Israel's Church of Living God. Now, can you can you make a clean out of an unclean? If a body was defiled back then, how is it not defiled now? It is still defiled. What is the difference? We are the offspring of these people right here. The Israelites, we're the offspring, which means we're same DNA. You understand? So if that body was unclean back then or defiled back then, it is defiled today. Does anybody understand?
Amen.
The Lord God of Israel, he said, I change not. So if that body was defiled back then, it is defiled now. You can't get around that. And let me ask you something. What made it clean from that point, from that time to this time? What made it clean then? What made it clean? So he said, these men, and there were certain men who were defiled by the dead body of a man,
that they could not keep the Passover on that day.
That they could not keep the Passover now. Go ahead and read.
And they came before Moses and before Aaron on that day. And those men said unto him, we are defiled by the dead body of a man.
Look, they know it. They understood that they were defiled by the body of a dead man. They understood this. Go ahead and read.
Wherefore are we kept back, that we may not offer an offering of the Lord in his appointed season among the children of Israel.
Because, they had to sacrifice the Passover on the 14th day of the first month at evening. So they're like, well, we can't make no offering because we're unclean by reason of a dead body. Go ahead and read.
And Moses said unto them, stand still, and I will hear that what the Lord will command concerning you. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, saying, if any man of you or of your prosperity shall be unclean by reason of a dead body.
Stop right there. You see that? He called them defiled first. Then he said they are unclean. So let's go back now. Let's go back. Let's go back to verse 7. Go back to verse 7. What does that say?
Verse 7. And those men said unto him, we are defiled by the dead body of a man.
We are defiled by the dead body of a man. Now read verse 10. Go
verse
ahead.
10. Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, if any man of you or of your prosperity shall be unclean by reason of a dead body.
Stop right there. You see that? So defiled by a dead body or unclean by reason of a dead body, it is the same thing. Defiled and unclean, same thing. Everybody see that?
Amen.
So now you don't have to ask yourself now, well, is defiled, how can defiled be unclean? Defiled, unclean, same thing. Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, if any man of your prosperity shall be unclean by reason of a dead body, or, go ahead.
Or be in a journey afar off, yet he shall keep the Passover unto the Lord. So now,
if he unclean by reason of a dead body, or he's in a journey, he shall, or far off, yet he shall keep the Passover to the Lord. But when is he going to keep the Passover to the Lord? Verse 11, go ahead.
The 14th day of the second month at evening.
Go ahead.
They shall keep it and eat with unleavened bread and bitter herbs.
Do you know we still do this today? We still do this for the feast of the Passover. If a person is in a journey or they're unclean by reason of dead body, they don't take the Passover on the 14th day of the first month. They take the Passover on the 14th day at evening of the second month. We still do this. Because a dead body is unclean back then and it's unclean right now. Period. Now, we're going to deal with this for a little bit here. So let's go now. Let's go to Numbers, the 19th chapter. Numbers 19. Numbers 19, and we're going to pick it up at verse 11. Numbers 19 and 11. Because we still practice this. We still do this. Cat go to a funeral and he hug the body or touch that body, he is unclean. Or you go to a funeral and you know a person that's just hugged that the deceased, he just hugged them. Oh, I'm going to miss you. People do that. And they go and hug them, and then they come and hug you. That person is unclean, and go unclean until the evening, provided they go and wash their clothes and take a shower and wash their clothes. They are unclean until the evening. We still practice this. I know a lot of people say, well, y'all can't be doing it because of the sacrifices. Christ is our sacrifice, so dead body is still unclean though. We're at Numbers, the 19th chapter, Numbers 19, and we're going to pick it up at verse 11. Numbers 19 and 11. Go ahead and read.
Numbers 19, verse 11. He that toucheth the dead body of any man shall be unclean 7 days.
Now, you unclean for 7 days. You go and touch a dead body, you unclean for 7 days. Up in here, you unclean for 7 days. Does everybody understand?
Amen.
So now, if you got a problem, then you go to a funeral and you say, well, Brother Rodney, am I unclean if I touch the body? Yep, you're unclean for 7 days. And I know most of the camps that we are affiliated with in some way, they practice this. They still practice this. So now he said, he that touches the dead body of any man shall be unclean 7 days. Now, is this a sin? The sin is when you come into the tabernacle. That's the sin. But if you go and hug a dead body, your loved one, you unclean for 7 days. Go ahead and read. Verse 12. Go ahead.
Verse 12. He shall purify himself with it on the 3rd day.
Now, how are we going to purify ourselves on the 3rd day? We don't have a priest. I'm talking about the Leviticus priest. We do have our high priest, which is Christ, and he purifieth. But then we don't have the high priest to take them. We're going to read it about the heifer and the ashes and all this and the water. We don't have the Leviticus priesthood to do this. But a dead body is still unclean. Go ahead and read. We're going to get to it. Go ahead and read.
And on the 7th day.
Read that verse 12 again.
Verse 12. He shall purify himself with it on the 3rd day. And on the 7th day he shall be clean. But if he purify not himself the 3rd day, then the 7th day he shall not be clean.
Go ahead.
Whosoever toucheth the dead body of any man that is dead, and purifieth not himself, defileth the tabernacle.
Wait a minute. So now, if a man is unclean by reason of a dead body, if he come up in the tabernacle, is he defiling it? Yeah, he's still defiling it. How do we purify ourselves? The only way we can purify ourselves now is by taking a shower. Well, of course, you got to take a shower every day. But then wash those clothes. That's the only thing that we can do right now. We don't have the priest in order to purify, to take the heifer and the red heifer and all of this, and the ashes and the water, and be purified on the 3rd day. But we still have to go and take our shower. We still have to go and wash those clothes. And then after the 7th day, we shall be clean. Go ahead and read.
Defileth the tabernacle of the Lord, and that soul shall be cut off from Israel.
Go ahead.
Because the water of separation was not sprinkled upon him. He shall be unclean. His uncleanness is yet upon him.
Go ahead.
This is the law. When a man dieth in a tent, all that come into the tent and all that is in the tent shall be unclean 7 days.
So if you go in a room where a person just died in that room, you are unclean for 7 days. Go ahead and read. Lest is he that walketh in the, blessed are the undefiled in the way that walketh in the law of the Lord. And we walk in the law of the Lord. Go ahead and read.
Verse 15. And every open vessel which have no covering bound upon it is unclean.
It is unclean. Every vessel. It is unclean. Go ahead and read.
And whosoever toucheth one that is slain with a sword in an open field.
Go ahead.
Or a dead body.
Or a dead body.
Or a bone of a man. Or a grave.
Or a grave. Go ahead.
Shall be unclean 7 days.
That's why we don't go into the graveyard. Because we understand if you go in the graveyard, you unclean for 7 days. Just like if a person died in a room and you go in that room where they dead, you unclean for 7 days. If you touch a dead body, you unclean for 7 days. Does everybody understand?
Amen.
Go ahead and read. What verse you at?
Verse 17. And for an unclean person, they shall take of the ashes of the burnt heifer of purification for sin, and running water shall be put thereto in a vessel.
Now look, let me show you. The priests are the ones that had to do this. So we don't have the Leviticus priesthood no more, so we can't do this. This water separation or water purification. Bag up now. Bag up to verse 2. Bag up to verse 2. Go ahead.
Verse 2. This is the ordinance of the law which the Lord hath commanded, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, that they bring thee a red heifer without spot, wherein is no blemish.
Go ahead.
And upon which never came yoke.
Now we don't even have no red heifers anymore. Now I know the Edomite Jews, they have started a farm where they are starting to raise red heifers, and I think they had one without blemish. No spots, no blemish, nothing wrong with it. So, you know, in order for you to do this, you have to have a red heifer, you got no spots, no blemish, nothing wrong with it. So we don't have nothing like that. But look what else he said you had to have too. Go ahead.
And you shall give her unto Eleazar, the priest.
See, Eleazar, the priest, is Aaron's son. We don't even know who the priests are, let alone Aaron's sons. Go ahead and read.
That he may bring her forth without the camp, and one shall slay her before his face.
Now, so we don't have the priest anymore, but a dead body is still unclean, so the best that we can do is wash ourselves and wash those clothes that you were in, and then you are clean on the next day, after the 7th day. That's the best we can do, because a dead body is unclean. Back then, and it's unclean now as well. You can't get around that. Let's go now. Let's go to Luke the 8th chapter, because you know that question was brought up. Well, Jesus touched a dead body. I'll say, okay. He raised that dead body. He brought that body to life. How was he going to bring the body to life? He felt that he needed to touch it to bring it to life. Then he touched it. But I'm going to show you what the book says about him. Jesus was undefiled. He was undefiled. Luke, the 8th chapter, we're going to pick up at verse 41. Luke 8 and 41. Go ahead and read.
Luke 8, verse 41. And, behold, there came a man named Jairus. And he was a ruler of the synagogue. And he fell down at Jesus' feet and besought him that he would come into his house. Now look, he understood who Jesus was. Now he's a ruler in the synagogue. He just fell down and started worshiping Jesus. So all the Pharisees weren't bad. This one right here, he understood who Jesus was. Go ahead and read. Verse 42. For he had one only daughter, about 12 years of age. And she lay a dying. So now his daughter died. But as he went The people thronged him.
Now, skip down to verse 49, because we're going to get to it. Verse 49.
Verse 49. While he yet spake, there cometh one from the ruler of the synagogue's house, saying to him, Thy daughter is dead. Trouble not the master.
Now look, your daughter is dead. Don't trouble the master. So don't even bother with her, because your daughter is dead. It's too late for her. Go ahead and read.
But when Jesus heard it, he answered him, saying, Fear not. Believe only, and she shall be made whole.
Ooh. Now look at here. Jesus said, don't fear, just believe, and she will be made whole. Go ahead and read. I know he had been like, oh yeah, I knew the Lord was going to do something. Because you know your daughter died, you be like, man, what am I going to do? Help me, Lord. That's the first thing you do, fall down on your knees and start asking the Lord to help me. So here come the Lord. Can you imagine that? He walk around with the Lord. And here come the Lord to his house. He a ruler of the synagogue. Go ahead and read.
Verse 51. And when he came into the house, he suffered no man to go in. Save Peter and James and John and the father and the mother of the maiden.
So look, nobody else come in. Peter, James, and John, and then her parents. Everybody else, y'all stay outside. Go ahead and read.
And all wept and bewailed her. But he said, Weep not. She is not dead, but sleepeth.
You see what Jesus said? She is not dead, but sleeping. But look at what he done, though. Go ahead and read.
And they laughed him to scorn, knowing that she was dead.
Go ahead.
And he put them all out, and took her by the hand.
Now, wait a minute. You see what he did? He took her by the hand, which means he touching the dead body. Well, look at what he done when he touched this dead body. Go ahead and read.
And called, saying, Maid, arise.
Maid, arise. So he's bringing this dead body back to life, but he touched her. So now, is he defiled? No, because he's bringing his body back to life. He felt the need to touch the body in order to bring her back to life. So he is not unclean. I'm going to show you. So he said, Maid, arise. Go ahead and read.
Verse 55. And her spirit came again. And she arose straightway. And he commanded to give her meat. And her parents were astonished.
Go ahead.
But he charged them that they should tell no man what was done.
See, because the Lord, we ain't got to show everybody what he's doing. So he's, everybody get out. Except Peter, James, and John, and then her parents come in. And he just took her by the hand. Something simple, said, Maid, arise. And now she has risen from the dead. Now, let me show you what the book says about Jesus. Let's go to Hebrews, the 7th chapter. Hebrews 7. And we're going to pick it up we're going to read one verse right here. We're going to have a lot of one verses. Hebrews 7 and 26. Hebrews 7 and 26. Go ahead and read.
Hebrews 7, verse 26. For such an high priest became us, who is holy, harmless.
Now, who are we talking about right? He said, for such an high priest became us, who is holy,
harmless, undefiled.
Go ahead.
Separate from sinners.
Separate from sinners,
and made higher than the heavens.
And made higher than the heavens. Who are we talking about right here? Jesus. But you see what he called him? He said, for such an high priest became us, who is holy, harmless, undefiled. So that answers your question right there. Was Jesus defiled when he touched that young girl? No, the book said he undefiled. And we know he was without sin. We don't even have to ask that question, because we know he was without sin, but the book said he was undefiled. Because that's what happens to a person when they touch the dead body. They become defiled. But Jesus was raising up bringing her back to life. And we just see that he is undefiled. Does anybody see this?
Amen.
Now, what did Jesus tell him? He told that young, he said, maid, arise. Right? What is a maid? Let's find out what a maid is. We're going to Reader's Digest Encyclopedia, and we're going to read what is a maid. Go ahead.
Maiden.
Uh-huh.
An unmarried woman.
An unmarried woman, uh-huh.
Especially if young.
Especially if young. Remember, she was 12 years old, right? He said, maid, arise. So he said a maiden that is young, right? Go ahead.
A virgin.
A what?
A virgin.
A virgin. A virgin. So when he said maid, I'm going somewhere with this. Everybody, don't look at me with a blank face. I'm going somewhere with this. So he told the young lady, he said, maid, arise. And what is a maid? The girl was 12 years old, so she was a virgin, right? Let's go now. Because the question was also asked about the 144,000. You understand? He said they had not been defiled by women. They were virgins. So let's find out what a virgin is first. Because some people got in their mind something else about a virgin. And I don't know how you get something else out of this. Now, one could be, like Paul was saying over there, I have espoused you as like a chaste virgin under Christ. Okay, spiritually, okay, you can be a virgin, but we're going to look at this 144,000 and see if this is what that is talking about. So some people try to use this and say this could be what a virgin means when they talk about the 144,000. I'm like, how could that be? But anyway, let's find out first what a virgin is. Let's go to Judges, the 21st chapter. Judges, the 21st chapter. Judges 21, and we're going to pick it up at verse 8. Judges 21 and 8. Judges 21 and 8. We're going to find out what is a virgin. Go ahead and read.
Judges 21, verse 8.
Uh-huh.
And they said, what one is there of the tribes of Israel that came out up to Mizpah to the Lord?
Go ahead.
And
who came not to Mizpah, up to Mizpah to the Lord.
And behold, there came none to the camp from Jabesh Gilead.
Jabesh Gilead, because you know they were fighting against Benjamin at this time. And so Lord had told all the tribes to come up, but Jabesh Gilead didn't come up. So now, since they didn't come up, we're going to do something about Jabesh Gilead, because they had killed all the Benjamites. Because if the Benjamites had raped the man's wife, his concubine raped her, and then she came back home and she died. So what did he do? He cut her up in 12 pieces. Right? And so now we're going out, we've been ready to do something to Benjamin because he had no business raping this woman. So now they had killed all the Benjamites, but it's like 600 left in the mountains. So now they sorry for killing all the Benjamites, all except these 600. So now we got to find out what we're going to do in order to repopulate Benjamin. So now we got 600 of these Benjamites that's left up here in the mountain. So who didn't come up to fight against Benjamin? We told everybody to come up, all the tribes. It was Jabesh Gilead. They didn't come up. Okay, so now we know how we're gonna repopulate Benjamin. So go ahead and read. Verse 9.
Verse 9. For the people were numbered. And behold, there were none of the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead there. And the congregation sent thither 12,000 men of the valiant, and commanded them, saying, go and smite the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead with the edge of the sword, with the woman and the children.
Go ahead.
And this is the thing that ye shall do. You shall utterly destroy every male.
You shall utterly destroy every male,
and every woman that have lain by men.
And every woman that have lain by men. Go ahead and read.
And they found among the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead 400 young virgins.
Look how many virgins they found among Jabesh Gilead. 400. Go ahead and read.
That had known no man by lying with any man.
Oh, do you mean that's what a virgin is? This is what a virgin is. He said, and they found among the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead 400 young virgins that had not known man by lying with any male. Because they killed the ones that had laid with men, the women that laid with men. But these virgins right here, they found 400 of them that had not laid with men. This is what a virgin is. A woman that has not laid with a man. And I will say that most times that you see a virgin in the Bible, it is dealing with a woman. Most times. Go ahead and read. What verse you at?
Verse 12.
Uh-huh.
And they brought them unto the camp to Shiloh, which is in the land of Canaan.
So, now we're going to go ahead and read verse 13.
And the whole congregation come to speak to the children of Benjamin that were in the rock Rimmon, and to call peaceably unto them.
So now we know how we're going to repopulate Benjamin now. We're going to take these 400 virgins and we're going to let these 600 brothers right here, hey, have at it. That's how they're going to do it. That is really something, ain't it? But that's how they repopulated Benjamin. Now, let's go now. So we see now what a virgin is. It is a woman that has not laid with a man. Let's go to Luke the first chapter. Let's look at this again. Luke the first chapter. Luke 1, and we're gonna pick it up at verse 26. Luke 1 and 26. As harsh as that might sound, that's the Lord allowed it. So if we catch you hear your daughter hollering, then hey, that's it. Ain't nothing you can do. Let me leave that alone. Luke, the first chapter. Luke 1 and 26. Luke 1 and 26. Everybody got it?
Amen.
Go ahead and read.
Luke 1 verse 26.
Uh-huh.
And in the 6th month, the angel Gabriel was sent from God unto a city of Galilee named Nazareth.
Go ahead.
To a virgin espoused to a man whose name was Joseph of the house of David. And the virgin's name was Mary.
So now, Mary is a virgin, but she's espoused to Joseph. Keep that in mind. She's betrothed or espoused to Joseph. In other words, they are engaged. But he never touched her. He hadn't touched her yet. So now, she's espoused to Joseph. Skip to verse 30. Skip to verse 30. What did the angel tell her? Go ahead.
Verse 30.
And
the angel said unto her, Fear not, Mary, for thou hast found favor with God. And behold, thou shalt conceive in thy womb, and bring forth a son, and shall call his name Jesus.
Go ahead.
He shall be great, and shall be called the Son of the Highest. And the Lord God shall give unto him the throne of his father David.
Go ahead.
And he shall reign over the house of Jacob forever.
See, people need to understand this. He's going to reign over the house of Jacob forever. Who is the house of Jacob? That is Israel. He's going to reign over the children of Israel forever.
And of his kingdom there shall be no end.
Of his kingdom there shall be no end. The Lord's kingdom hadn't been set up yet. He's not reigning over the children of Israel right now. He didn't do it in 70 AD neither. Go ahead and read.
Verse 34. Then said Mary unto the angel, How shall this be?
Go ahead.
Seeing I know not a man.
She said, how should this be, seeing that I know not a man? Because Joseph was espoused to her, so she knew a man. So what is she talking about, seeing that I have not known a man? She have not laid with a man. Does anybody understand?
Amen.
Because she was espoused to Joseph, so she knew a man. She was betrothed to him or engaged to him. But she was still a virgin. So she said, then Mary said unto the angel, how shall this thing be, seeing I know not a man? I have not laid with a man, so how these things going to be? So that right there lets me know that she was a virgin that had not laid with a man. Does anybody understand?
Amen.
A virgin is a virgin. Now, let's go now, because this is the infamous question right here that was raised. You know, this question was raised to me about 10 years ago. Me and a brother was talking about this. He's like, man, can't no man be no virgin? I'm like, why not? You might not find many of them now, but still, a man could be a virgin. Let's go to Revelations, the 14th chapter. Revelation 14. Revelation 14, and we're going to pick it up at verse 1. Revelation 14 and 1. Because, you know, men can't understand that if a man and a woman lay together, that is unclean and it is defiled before the Lord. That could be your wife. Okay, it's still unclean. And you still defiled before the Lord. Revelation 14. Revelation 14 and 1. Revelation 14 and 1. Go ahead and read it.
Revelation 14, verse 1.
Uh-huh.
And I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on the Mount Sion.
Uh-huh.
And with him 144,000.
Uh-huh.
Having his father's name written in their forehead.
Go ahead. Now, this 144,000, we can read about them in Revelation, the 7th chapter, are 100 from the 12 tribes of Israel. So it's like 12,000 from each one that is mentioned in Revelation, the 7th chapter. This is a special group to the Lord. Ask me who they are. I don't know. I do not know who these are. But he said, I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on the Mount Zion, and with him 144,000 having his father's name written in their foreheads. Verse 2, go ahead.
And I heard a voice from heaven, as the voice of many waters, and as the voice of a great thunder.
Uh-huh.
And I heard the voice of harpers harping with their harps.
Go ahead.
And they sung as it were a new song before the throne, and before the four beasts, and the elders. And no man could learn that song, but the 144,000,
uh-huh,
which were redeemed from the earth.
You see where they were redeemed from? The earth. Go ahead and read.
These are they which were not defiled with women.
You see that? He said, these are they which were not defiled by women. Now, how could you miss this? How could you come up with any other explanation than them being virgins? He said they have not been defiled by women. Uh-huh.
These are they which follow the Lamb whitherso he goeth.
Uh-huh.
These were redeemed from among men.
Uh-huh.
Being the first fruits unto God and to the Lamb.
Read that verse 4 again. You missed that.
Verse 4.
Uh-huh.
These are they which were not defiled with women.
They were not defiled with women. Uh-huh.
For they are virgins.
They are virgins. They are virgins. So now how could you get any other out of this? I mean, we're not talking about on a spiritual level like Paul was talking about, I have espoused you to one husband as a chaste virgin unto Christ. We're not talking about no spiritual thing. He said they have not been defiled by women, for they are virgins. How could you get anything else out of this? Go ahead and read.
These are they which follow the Lamb, whithersoever he goeth.
Go ahead.
These were redeemed from among men.
They were redeemed from among men. So we know that these are flesh and blood virgins right here. Go ahead and read.
being the first fruits unto God and to the Lamb.
Now, so we know that these were men that were flesh and blood men right here. Let's go now. Let's go to let's go look at this, because you know, a man and a woman coming together, that is unclean to the Lord, which is defiled. Let's go now. Let's go to Leviticus, the 15th chapter, Leviticus 15. Leviticus 15, and we're going to pick it up at verse 26. I'm sorry, 16. Leviticus 15 and 16. Leviticus 15 and 16. Go ahead and read.
Leviticus 15, verse 16. If any man's seed of copulation go out from him, then he shall wash all his flesh in water and be unclean until the evening.
There you go. We said if any man's seed of copulation, you know what man's bodily function when he lays with his wife, right? So now he said if this seed of copulation come out of him, then he is unclean until the evening. Now, that's defiled. That is defiled. Go ahead and read.
And every garment and every skin whereon is the seed of copulation,
go ahead,
shall be washed with water and be unclean until the evening.
Now, we still practice this. We still practice this. If you lay with your wife, you are unclean. You're not supposed to come to the tabernacle. I'm going to show you. Go ahead and read.
The woman also, with whom man shall lie with, seed of copulation.
Go ahead.
They shall both bathe themselves in water and be unclean until the evening.
Now, you know, some people think, well, they didn't sin. How could they sin? He didn't say it was a sin. He said they were unclean. Now, if they come to the tabernacle, then that's another story. But by a man laying, how you gonna multiply and replenish the earth if a man don't lay with a woman? So it's not a sin, it is uncleanness though. Just because you're unclean, that means you have sinned. It is what you do while you're unclean that will cause it to be a sin. Does everybody understand?
Amen.
Because a man gonna lay with a woman, and a woman gonna lay with a man. But it is unclean to the Lord. It is defiled before the Lord. Go ahead and read. What verse you at?
Verse 19. And if a woman have an issue, and her issue in her flesh be blood, she shall be put apart 7 days.
Go ahead.
And whosoever toucheth her shall be unclean unto the evening. And everything that she lieth upon in her separation shall be unclean.
Go ahead.
Everything also that she sitteth upon shall be unclean. And whosoever toucheth her bed shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until the evening.
Go ahead.
And whosoever toucheth anything that she sat upon shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until the evening.
Now, I had a brother, you know, got mad at me when I read him this. He come up to me, hey man, look, my daughter and my wife, they come on at the same time. I said, well, what you want me to do? Ain't nothing I can do about that. Well, can't they come if they sit on pillows? I said, look, man, they are unclean. If they come to the tabernacle or the sanctuary, they're unclean. Well, what if they sit on pillows? I said, man, look, they are unclean. Well, I'm going to bring with us. So, well, you got to talk to Brother Danny then. Now you got to talk to Brother Danny. Because I'm not going to fight you about this. That's going to be between you and Brother Danny. So now, but he never did bring his wife. She was unclean, or his daughter unclean, while I was there. So, but anyway, he got mad at me, though. I'm like, what you get mad at me for? I didn't say it. The Lord said it. So if everything that she touched, she is unclean. Go ahead until the evening. Go ahead. But she unclean for 7 days. But everything she touched, and whosoever toucheth her bed shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until the evening. Go ahead and read. What verse you at?
Verse 23.
Uh-huh.
And if it be on her bed,
Uh-huh.
or on anything whereon she sitteth,
Uh-huh.
when he toucheth it,
Uh-huh.
he shall be unclean until the evening.
He shall be unclean until the evening. Verse 24. Go ahead.
And if any man lie with her at all, and her flowers be upon him,
go ahead.
he shall be unclean 7 days.
And if he lay with her while she's on her flowers, he is unclean for 7 days. Go ahead and read.
And all the bed whereon he lieth shall be unclean.
Now that is clear right there. Now I know we don't have the turtle doves and all this type of stuff, but we don't do that no more. But she's still unclean, and she's not supposed to come to the sanctuary. Skip to verse 30. Skip to verse 30. Go ahead and read.
Verse 30.
Uh-huh.
And the priest shall offer the one for a sin offering, and the other for a burnt offering. And the priest shall make an atonement for her before the Lord for the issue of her uncleanness.
Now we can't do this now because we don't have a priest. So what happens? She has to wash herself and bathe herself, and she's unclean for 7 days. And then if she run past 7 days, she got to be, once her issue stops, she is unclean for another 7 days. Then that 8th day she is clean. And this is what the book is saying right here. Don't get mad at me. Go ahead and read.
Verse 31. Thus shall ye separate the children of Israel from their uncleanness, that they die not in their uncleanness.
Go ahead.
When they defile my tabernacle,
go ahead,
that is among them.
When they defile my tabernacle. So if a man, if he got a running issue, we didn't read that, but if he got a running issue, he unclean. And if he lay with his wife and see the copulation come on, he is unclean. If a woman got an issue and her issue is blood, like her monthly, then she is unclean. Now, you know, thus shall you separate the children of Israel from their uncleanness, that they die not in their uncleanness, when they defile my tabernacle that is among them. So you defile the Lord's tabernacle, you come in here unclean. It's that's it, and that's all. Go ahead and read some more.
Verse 32. This is the law of him that have an issue, and of him whose seed goeth from him, and is defiled therewith.
Blessed are the undefiled in a way that walk in the law of the Lord. They are blessed. This is the law of him that have an issue, and of him whose seed goeth forth from him, and is defiled wherewith. Verse 33. Go ahead and read it.
And of her that is sick, of her flowers.
Go ahead.
And of him that have an issue, of the man, and of the woman, and of him that lieth with her that is unclean.
Now, that's what the book says. And we have to get as close to this as possible. Because I know some people, well, y'all ain't doing it perfectly. And look, man, you ain't even keeping the Sabbath. So you might well be, I had to tell a brother, you want to talk about the feast days. Look, man, don't talk to me about the feast days. You ain't keeping them. You don't believe in them, you don't keep them. What we got to talk about? What am I arguing with you about the feast days for? Let's go now. Let's go to Hebrews the 13th chapter. Hebrews 13. Now here's another question that was asked. Hebrews 13 and 4. Hebrews 13 and 4. You know, we had a pretty good conversation. And an interesting conversation. Hebrews 13, and we're going to pick it up at verse 4. Hebrews 13 and 4. Go ahead and read.
Hebrews 13, verse 4. Marriage is honorable in all.
Marriage is honorable in all.
And the bed undefiled.
And the bed is undefiled. What do you mean the bed is undefiled? Hey, look. If your mate like it a certain way, that's the way you do it. You understand what I'm saying? Be it the man or be it the woman. You understand? You don't do nothing crazy. You ain't supposed to be doing nothing crazy, but the way your mate like to do it, that's the way you're supposed to do it. Period. So he said marriage is honorable in all, and the bed is undefiled.
But whoremongers and adulterers God will judge.
Now, let's go now. Let's go to James, the first chapter. James, the first chapter. James 1, and we're going to pick it up at verse 27. James 1 and 27. We're almost there. James 1 and 27. Everybody got it?
Amen.
Go ahead and read.
James 1, verse 27.
Uh-huh.
Pure religion and undefiled before God and the Father is this.
Uh-huh.
To visit the fatherless and widows in their affliction,
Uh-huh.
and to keep himself unspotted from the world.
Ooh. Did y'all catch that? Pure religion and undefiled before God and the Father is this: to visit the fatherless, the widows in their affliction, and to keep himself unspotted from the world. You have to keep yourself unspotted from the world. You have to keep yourself from being defiled. You got to do it. Just like we read about David earlier, about him keeping himself undefiled. So you have to keep yourself unspotted from the world. Let's go look at this. Let's go to 1 John, the 5th chapter. Let's look at this again. 1 John 5. 1 John 5, and we're going to pick it up at verse 18. 1 John 5 and 18. When you get it, brother, go ahead and read it.
1 John 5, verse 18. We know that whosoever is born of God sinneth not.
Uh-huh.
But he
talking about willful sin. Now, willful sin. And we know that whosoever is born of God sinneth not. Go ahead.
But he that is begotten of God keepeth himself.
He keepeth who?
He keepeth himself.
He keepeth himself. Those that are begotten of God, he keepeth himself. Uh-huh.
And that wicked one toucheth him not.
So now, if you keeping yourself, that means you follow blessed the undefiled in the way who walketh in the law of the Lord. That's how you keep yourself. Walking in the law of the Lord. He said, and the devil and Satan will touch him not. Let's go now. Let's go to Mark, the 7th chapter, because now we're going to get on the mental, being defiled mentally. Being defiled mentally. Let's go to Mark, the 7th chapter. Mark 7. Because a lot of people want to go here and read about unclean and clean food and everything. That's not what this is talking about. He's telling them about eating with unwashed hands. That's what he's telling them about. Eating with dirty hands. Because the Israelites did a lot of washing and stuff. And so now they asked him, why are your disciples eating bread with unwashed hands? Now look at what Jesus said right here. We had on Mark 7 and 14. Mark 7 and 14. Go ahead and read it.
Mark 7, verse 14.
Uh-huh.
And when he had called all the people unto him, he said unto them,
Uh-huh.
Hearken unto me, every one of you, and understand.
See, the Lord wants you to understand what he is saying. Go ahead and read.
There is nothing from without a man that enter into him can defile him.
Uh-huh.
But the things which come out of him, those are they that defile him.
Now, Jesus is not talking about on a physical level. He's talking about a spiritual level. He's talking about on a spiritual level. Because remember, they was asking him about eating with unwashed hands. So he's like, you know what? Eating with unwashed hands, that don't defile a man. Go ahead and read.
Verse 16.
Uh-huh.
If any man have ears to hear, let him hear.
See, some men don't have ears to hear this. So therefore, they go on talking about unclean and clean food, unclean food. You can eat anything you want to eat. But that's not what this is talking about. He's talking about eating with unwashed hands. So now he telling them, look, there's nothing that from without can defile a man. Eating him, eating with unwashed, with dirty hands, that's not going to defile him. Because remember, the children of Israel, they ate those things which were clean. They didn't eat the things which were unclean. Go ahead and read.
Verse 17. And when he was entered into the house from the people, his disciples asked him concerning the parable. And he saith unto them, Are ye so without understanding?
Go ahead.
Do you not perceive that whatsoever thing from without entereth into the man, it cannot defile him?
Go ahead.
Because it entereth not into his heart.
Because it entered not into his heart. See, we're not dealing with enter into your mouth. We're dealing with enter into your heart and in your mind. You see what he just said? Read that one more time.
Verse 19. Because it entereth not into his heart, but into the belly.
Go ahead.
And goeth out into the drought, purging all meat.
So he said purging all meats. Now, are all meats meant to be eaten? No. So the children of Israel, he ain't got to tell them about the unclean and the clean, because they knew that what was clean and what was unclean. So he's talking on a spiritual level. Because it entered not into his heart, but entered into the belly and goeth out into the drought, purging all meats. Go ahead, verse 20.
And he said, that which cometh out of the man, that defileth the man.
Now he's going to tell you what he's talking about. He said, that which cometh out of man, defileth the man. Now he's going to tell you, well, he's not talking about eating food or eating meat. Really, he's telling you about something going on a spiritual level right here. Now he's going to tell you what he's talking about. Go ahead, verse 21.
For from within, out of the heart of men, proceed evil thoughts.
Proceeded what?
Evil thoughts.
Evil thoughts, because it comes here first before you perform your wickedness or your sins or your iniquity. This way it comes first, right? He said, for from within, out of the heart of men, proceedeth evil thoughts. Go ahead, what do those evil thoughts produce? Go ahead.
Adultery.
You can't do adultery until you thinking it, but then it's not really performed until you do it. But then Jesus did come back in Matthew, I think that's the 5th chapter over there, said, if you look on a woman, I tell you have committed adultery. So this is what he's dealing with right here, your mind. He said, so evil thoughts, adultery,
fornication.
Fornication.
Murder. Thefts.
Go ahead.
Covetousness. Wickedness. Deceit. Lasciviousness. An evil eye.
Go ahead.
Blasphemy, pride, foolishness. All these evil things come from within.
All these evil things come from within. And what do?
And defile the man.
And they defile the man. So this is what he's talking about right. He's not talking about food. He's talking about what's going to defile you right here. Because like I said, it comes here first. Then you go and perform your wickedness or your sins. And this, when it comes here, that's going to defile you. Then you really do it. That really, now you really cross the line when you do it. So he said, this is what all these evil things come from within and defile the man. These evil thoughts. Let's go now. Let's go to Genesis, the 6th chapter, because this was being done all the way back in Genesis, the 6th chapter right here. In man's conception right here. All the way back in Genesis, the 6th chapter. This is why the Lord had to punish the world, because of man's evil thoughts and the things that they were doing. We had Genesis 6 and 1, Genesis 6 and 1. Will you get it, brother? Go ahead and read.
Genesis 6, verse 1. And it came to pass, when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them.
Go ahead.
That the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair. And they took them wives of all which they chose. And the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh, Yet this day shall be 120 years.
He said, look, my word is not going to always strive with this man. So now I'm going to have to knock his years down because I'm giving him too many years of sin. Men living to 969 years and everything. Like, no, that's too long for them to sin. So now I'm going to have to knock their age down. But my word is not going to always be with them. Skip to verse 5. Go ahead.
Verse 5.
Uh-huh.
And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth.
Uh-huh.
And that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually.
Look, he said that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart, of his mind, was only evil continually. Only evil. Of course, we know what happened after this. The Lord had to come and drown this man and kill everybody because they were so wicked. But he said they had these evil thoughts continually. Let's go now. Let's go to Jeremiah the 17th chapter. Jeremiah 17. Jeremiah 17. And we're going to pick up at verse 9. Jeremiah 17 and 9. Now we're dealing with the mind now. With this is the heart that we're dealing with. Because it can become defiled. And then once you start thinking it, then you start performing it. You start performing your sins or your iniquity. But your mind becomes defiled first. We are Jeremiah 17 and 9. Jeremiah 17 and 9. Go ahead and read it.
Jeremiah 17, verse 9.
Uh-huh.
The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked.
Go ahead.
Who can know it?
Now, what heart is he talking about? This mind right here. It is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? Go ahead and read it.
I, the Lord, search the heart. I try the reins, even to give every man according to his ways and according to the fruit of his doing. So
if you working a righteous man reward, you're going to get you working a righteous man. As a righteous man, you're going to get a righteous man reward. If you're working wickedness, then you're going to get a wicked man's reward. He said, I, the Lord, try the reins, even to give every man according to his ways and according to the fruit of his doings. And that's what we started off with. You understand? If you walk in righteousness, you get a righteous man reward. If you work in wickedness, you're going to get a wicked man's reward. Didn't David say, the Lord have rewarded me according to my righteousness? And if you walk in righteousness, the Lord is going to reward you according to your righteousness. And then one day he's going to give you the ultimate reward, and that is eternal life. Amen. And that's what we are looking for, this eternal life. Let's go to James, the 4th chapter, because James is going to tell you flat out what to do. James 4, and we're going to pick up at verse 7. James 4 and 7. We got two more. James 4 and 7. Everybody got it? Amen. Go ahead and read it.
James 4, verse 7. Submit yourselves, therefore, to God.
See, you got to submit yourself to God. You got to understand what the Lord wants you to do and do it. Submit yourself unto God.
Resist the devil. And he will flee from you.
He only going to flee for a little while. You understand? When you start walking in righteousness, he's going to try to come at you. He's not worried about the one that's walking in sin already. He ain't got to come at them. He got them already. So the ones that's walking in righteousness and try to do this thing right, they're the ones he's coming after. So after a while, he's going to leave you alone. But just like it said about Jesus, he's going to come back in a little season. He's going to tempt you again. And you just do what thus say, continue to do what thus say the Lord. And he will flee from you. Go ahead and read it.
Draw nigh to God. And he will draw nigh to you.
See, don't get away from God. You're supposed to try to get closer to God. Don't try to get closer to God. He said, look, draw nigh to God, and he will draw nigh to you. So once you once you get close to God, he's going to get close with you. Because a lot of people, they go out and they go and they do their wickedness, and then they want to run away from God after they're sorry for it. No, you're supposed to be trying to get with God. Amen. Don't run from Him. Say, Lord, forgive me of my sin, and then come back to Him. Start doing those things which He commands you to do. Don't run away from Him. Because all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. But you got to submit yourself to Him. You ain't going to submit to God, then it ain't going to work. It's not going to work for you. And we know what your punishment is going to be, what reward you're going to get in the end. You know what your reward is going to be in the end. Start at verse 8 again. Verse 8.
Draw nigh to God. And He will draw nigh to you.
Go ahead.
Cleanse your hands, ye sinners.
Clean your hands, you sinners.
And purify your hearts.
Purify your heart. Purify your mind. How do you purify your mind? We're going to show you. He said, purify your hearts.
Ye double-minded.
Go ahead.
Be afflicted and mourn. And weep. Let your laughter be turned to mourning. And your joy to heaviness.
Go ahead.
Humble yourselves in the sight of the Lord. And He shall lift you up.
Ooh. Humble yourself in the sight of the Lord, and He will lift you up. Draw near to God, and He will draw near to you. Let's go now. Let's go to 2 Corinthians 7. 2 Corinthians 7. We got one more. 2 Corinthians 7. And we'll pick it up. We got one verse. Verse 1. 2 Corinthians 7 and 1. Everybody got it?
Amen.
Go ahead and read.
2 Corinthians 7 verse 1. Having therefore these promises, dearly beloved, let us cleanse ourselves from all filthiness of the flesh.
You see who got to do this? You do. He said, having therefore the promises, dearly, because you are the children of the promise. We are the children of the promise. He said, having therefore these promises, dearly beloved, let us cleanse ourselves from all filthiness. We have to do it. We have to cleanse ourselves from all filthiness.
Of the flesh. And spirit.
And spirit.
Perfecting holiness.
Go ahead.
In the fear of God.
Perfecting holiness in the fear of God. If you don't fear God, you ain't going to do what He tells you to do. You are not going to do what He commands you to do. Let's go now. Let's go to 1 Peter. Because he said, we read, he said, cleanse your hands, ye double-minded. Cleanse your heart, you double-minded. Let's see what he means by that. How you going to do that? Let's go to 1 Peter 1 and 22. 1 Peter 1 and 22. How you going to cleanse how you going to cleanse yourself from all your filthiness? 1 Peter 1 and 22. 1 Peter 1 and 22. Go ahead and read.
1 Peter 1 verse 22. Seeing ye have purified your souls in obeying the truth.
Ooh. This is how you cleanse your hands. This is how you cleanse yourself. Seeing ye have purified your souls in doing what? Obeying the truth. This is how you cleanse yourself. This is how you get a clean heart or a clean mind. By obeying the truth,
through the Spirit.
Through the Word,
unto unfeigned love of the brethren.
Go ahead.
See that ye love one another with a pure heart fervently.
Skip to verse 3. Back up to verse 3. Back up to verse 3.
Verse 3. Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, which, according to His abundant mercy, have begotten us again unto a lively hope.
See, you don't have salvation already. The only thing you got right now is a hope. He has begotten us unto a lively. Do you know brothers got a problem with this? When I read it, got a problem with this? I'm like, boy, you got a lot of growing up to do. Go ahead. He said he begotten us into a lively hope.
By the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead.
Go ahead.
To an inheritance incorruptible.
See, this is the promise. It is an inheritance incorruptible. This incorruptible body. What else?
And undefiled.
And undefiled. Go ahead.
And that fadeth not away. Reserved in heaven for you.
Not you going to heaven. This is just reserved in heaven for you. Because when the Lord returns, his reward is going to be with him. Verse 5. Go ahead and read.
Who are kept by the power of God through faith.
Stop right there. You see what you're kept by? The power of God through faith. Through belief in the Lord. And not only believing him, but doing his word. Go ahead and read.
Through faith unto salvation.
Go ahead.
Ready to be revealed in the last time.
Ready to be revealed in the last time. This is where you're going to get salvation. So blessed are the undefiled in the way who walk in the law of the Lord. Thank you.